1. The Woman on the Plane. The woman in seat 14A had not slept in 31 hours. She did not look like someone who had been awake that long. Her clothes were neat. Her dark hair was pulled back carefully. Her hands were folded in her lap, and her face, to anyone glancing across the aisle, looked simply still, composed, the face of a woman thinking about nothing in particular. But her name was Sophia Reyes. She was 41 years old, and she was thinking about everything. She was thinking about the phone call she had received 6 days ago, her sister's voice careful and quiet in the way voices become when they are carrying something heavy. "Sophia, you need to come home. It's Mama." She was thinking about the boarding pass she had bought in 20 minutes, using money she did not quite have from a work computer in a glass office building in Dubai, where she had spent the last 4 years of her life. She was thinking about her daughter, Camila, who was now 16 years old and who had been 8 when Sophia left. 8 years old, 2nd grade, still small enough to be carried, still young enough to run to the door when she heard her mother's key in the lock. Camila did not run to doors anymore. Sophia knew this without being told. Some things you know through a phone screen at 11 o'clock at night, watching your child grow up in WhatsApp videos and birthday photographs, understanding with every passing year that you are seeing a recording of a life rather than the life itself. The plane began its descent. Sophia looked out the small oval window at the city below, the city she had been born in, grown up in, left. The lights were coming on as evening fell. From up here, it looked exactly as she remembered it. She pressed her hand flat against the cold glass. "I'm coming," she thought. "I'm finally coming home." She did not yet know that for some of the people she loved most, she was coming home too late. Chapter 2. Why She Left. 4 years ago, Sophia Reyes had made a decision that she believed, that she had to believe, was the right one. Her husband, Marco, had lost his job in the construction collapse of 2020. Overnight, their income was halved. Then it was gone. They had a mortgage on a small house in the east of the city. They had Camila in school. They had Sophia's mother, Elena, who was 68 and needed regular medication that was not cheap. Sophia had a degree in business administration and 7 years of experience in supply chain management. She was good at her work. Not good in the way people say it to be polite, but genuinely, measurably good. Her boss at the time, a man named Fernando, told her she was the most organized mind he had worked with in 20 years. The offer came through a colleague, a logistics company in Dubai, senior coordinator. The salary was 3 times what she earned at home. 3 times. She sat at the kitchen table with Marco for 2 evenings, papers spread between them, numbers, calculations, what-ifs. She called her sister Isabel, who lived 20 minutes away and would be nearby for their mother. She spoke to Camila, who was 8, and did not fully understand, but listened seriously the way children listen when they know the conversation is important. "Will you come back?" Camila asked. "Every year," Sophia said, "for holidays, and I'll call you every single day." "Every day?" "Every single day," Sophia said. "I promise." She kept that promise. Every day for 4 years she called. Short calls some days, 5 minutes from a work break, tired voice, quick questions. Long calls on weekends, an hour, sometimes 2, talking about school and friends and what Camila was reading and what she was watching and whether she had eaten properly. But a phone call is not a mother in the room, and a room without a mother is a different room entirely. The plane began its descent. Sophia looked out the small oval window at the city below, the city she had been born in, grown up in, left. The lights were coming on as evening fell. From up here, it looked exactly as she remembered it. She pressed her hand flat against the cold glass. I'm coming, she thought. I'm finally coming home. She did not yet know that for some of the people she loved most, she was coming home too late. Chapter 3. The House She Left Behind. Marco had not asked her to go. He had not asked her to stay. He was a quiet man, Marco, not cold but contained. He felt things deeply and showed them slowly. He had sat at the table for those 2 evenings and looked at the numbers and looked at his wife and said, "It's your decision, Sophia. I will support whatever you decide." She had wanted him to fight for her to stay. She had wanted him to say, "We will find another way. We don't need the money that badly. I need you here." She had wanted the decision taken from her by someone else's certainty. He did not do that. He was too honest for that. So she went. The first year was the hardest. She cried in the bathroom of the Dubai apartment she shared with 2 other expatriate workers. She cried on the phone with her sister. She sent money home every month, enough for the mortgage, for Camila's school, for her mother's medication, with some left over for small things. She told herself, this is love too. This is what love looks like when the easy version is not available. By the second year, it was easier, which was its own kind of sadness. You adapt. The human heart, Sophia learned, adapts to almost anything, including the absence of the people she loves most. By the third year, she had been promoted twice. She had her own apartment. She had colleagues who had become friends. She had a routine and a purpose and a salary that made everything at home more stable than it had ever been. By the 4th year, she had started to believe she might stay 1 more year, just 1 more, to save enough to come back without financial fear. And then Isabel called. Chapter 4. Elena. Sophia's mother, Elena Reyes, was 72 years old. She had raised 2 daughters alone after Sophia's father left when Sophia was 11 and Isabel was 7. She had worked as a seamstress for 30 years, careful, precise work, done at a table by the window with the good light. Her fingers were still quick at 72, though they ached in cold weather. Elena had not wanted Sophia to go to Dubai. She had said so once, clearly, and then never said it again, because Elena believed that you say the important things once, and then you trust the people you love to carry them. She had video called Sophia on Sundays. She had sent photographs of Camila's school plays and birthday cakes and the garden which she tended every spring with the specific dedication of someone who understands that things need attention to grow. She had not told Sophia in those Sunday calls that her heart had been giving her trouble since last winter. Her doctor had mentioned it, carefully, with the language doctors use when they want to alarm you slowly. Tests, monitoring, medication adjustment. She had not told Sophia because she did not want Sophia to come home out of fear. She wanted Sophia to come home when Sophia chose to come home. That choice was taken from everyone when Elena had a stroke on a Tuesday morning in November while she was watering the garden. Isabel found her an hour later. Chapter 5. The Airport. The airport smelled of coffee and disinfectant and something underneath both of those, something that Sophia recognized as home before she had consciously registered anything else. The smell of the air, the specific quality of the light through the large windows, the sound of Spanish being spoken in every direction. Isabel was waiting at the arrivals gate. They had always looked alike, Sophia and Isabel, the same dark eyes, the same way of standing. but 4 years is long enough for life to mark people differently. Isabel looked older, not badly, just real, the kind of older that comes from being present for everything. They held each other for a long time at the gate without speaking. "How is she?" Sophia asked. "Stable," Isabel said. "The doctors say stable. But Sophia," she pulled back and looked at her sister directly, "she is not the same. The stroke affected her left side. She can sit up. She can talk, though it is slower. But she is not, she is changed." Sophia nodded. She was not trusting herself to speak. "Camila is at the hospital with Marco," Isabel said. "They've been there since this morning." Sophia picked up her bag. "Take me to her," she said. Chapter 6. The Hospital Room. Elena was in a bed by the window. She was smaller than Sophia remembered, or perhaps Sophia's memory had kept her mother large in the way memories of parents are always larger than the reality. She had a drip in her left hand and a monitor beside her, and her gray hair was loose around her face rather than in the careful braid she always wore. But her eyes, when she opened them and saw Sophia standing in the doorway, were completely the same. "Mija," she said, "my daughter." Her voice was slower than before, but the word was entirely hers. Sophia crossed the room. She sat on the edge of the bed. She took her mother's right hand, the good hand, and held it in both of hers. "I'm here, Mama," she said. "I'm here." "You came," Elena said. "Of course I came." "Far," Elena said. She could not always find the full sentence now, Isabel had warned her, but the single words she chose were always the right ones. "It doesn't matter how far," Sophia said. "Yes," Elena said. Just that. She looked at her daughter with the direct, tired eyes of a woman who has lived long enough to know that the distance had mattered, even if she would not say so, even if she would never say so. It mattered. Both of them knew it. The monitor beeped steadily. Outside the window, the city went about its evening. Somewhere down the corridor, a baby was crying. Sophia held her mother's hand and did not let go. Chapter 7. Camila. Camila was in the corridor when Sophia came out of Elena's room. She was sitting on a plastic chair against the wall, phone in her hands, earphones in one ear, the specific posture of a teenager who is present and somewhere else at the same time. She was wearing a dark green hoodie that was too big for her, and her dark hair, Sophia's hair, Elena's hair, was in a loose ponytail. She looked up when Sophia appeared. She stood up slowly. Sophia had imagined this moment many times on the plane. In some versions, Camila ran to her. In others, they simply held each other and everything was, for a moment, repaired. What actually happened was this. Camila looked at her mother for a long moment, with an expression Sophia could not quite read, something careful, something measured. And then she said, "You look tired." "I am tired." "Camila, how was the flight?" "Long." "Camila, Abuela is sleeping again. The nurse said she needs to sleep." "I know. Sophia stopped. She looked at her daughter, this girl who had been 8 years old the last time she had seen her in person, this girl who was now 16 and tall and had a voice that had settled into itself and eyes that had learned to give away only what they chose to give away. "Can I hug you?" A pause, long enough to be its own answer. Then Camila stepped forward. She let her mother put her arms around her. She was stiff for a moment, the stiffness of someone who has learned not to lean too hard on things that leave. And then, slowly, she softened. Her head came down to her mother's shoulder. Her breath caught once, quietly. "I missed you, Mama," she said. So quietly Sophia almost missed it. "I missed you too, every single day. I missed you every single day." They stood in the hospital corridor for a long time. Neither of them said that missing someone every day is not the same as being there. They both knew it. They did not need to say it. Chapter 8. Marco. Marco was in the hospital cafeteria when Sophia found him. He was at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee, one finished, one untouched, going cold. He was looking at nothing in particular, the way tired people look when they have run out of things to do and cannot stop being in the situation regardless. He looked up when Sophia sat down across from him. He looked at her for a moment, just looked, taking her in, the way you look at someone who is familiar and strange at the same time. "Sophia," Marco said. "Sophia." He pushed the cold coffee toward her. An old habit. He had always done this, pushed the second cup toward whoever sat down. It was such a specific, ordinary thing that Sophia felt the tears she had been holding for 32 hours press suddenly behind her eyes. She took the coffee. "How are you?" she asked. "Tired," he answered honestly. "Camila has been here every day since Tuesday. She barely sleeps. She doesn't say much, but she's always here." "She's like her grandmother," Sophia said. "She's like you," Marco said quietly. "When things are hard, she goes very still and very steady and takes care of everyone around her." He looked at the table. "She's been taking care of me, actually, which is—" He stopped. "She's 16. She shouldn't have to take care of me." Sophia set down the cup. "Marco," she said, "how are we?" A long silence. Marco looked at her steadily, in the way he had always looked at things, directly, without drama. "We are honest people," he said finally, "and the honest answer is, I don't know. 4 years is a long time, Sophia. I don't mean it as an accusation. I mean it as a fact. 4 years change people. It changed you. It changed me. I don't know who we are to each other now." It was the most he had said in one speech perhaps in their entire marriage. Sophia heard it for what it was, not rejection, not closing a door, but a man who had learned in 4 years to say true things clearly. "Can we find out?" she asked. He considered this. "Yes," he said, "I think we can try." Chapter 9. The Things She Had Missed. That first night, Sophia slept in the family home for the first time in 4 years. Camila had her room. Marco slept in the room they had once shared. Isabel had made up the small room at the back, the one that had been her mother's sewing room, still full of fabric and thread and the particular smell of Elena's work. Sophia lay in the narrow bed and looked at the ceiling and did not sleep. She was thinking about what she had missed. Not in the large, obvious way. She knew the large things. She had missed Camila's 13th birthday, the year Camila became a teenager. She had missed Marco's sister's wedding. She had missed the summer that Isabel's youngest had his accident. Minor, it turned out, but the hours before they knew it was minor had been terrible for everyone. She had missed the tree in the front garden being cut down because of the roots. She had missed the neighbor, old Mr. Domingo, dying in February. But she was thinking now about the small things, the things that don't make it into phone calls or photographs. She had missed the sound of Camila laughing in the next room late at night at something on her phone. She had missed her mother's specific way of sighing when the television program she liked was interrupted by advertisements. She had missed Marco's footsteps on the stairs. She had known in this house exactly who was coming by the sound of their steps. She had missed being known. That was the thing she had not understood when she left. She had thought of home as the people and the place. She had not understood that home was also the 10,000 small ways you know each other, the sounds and habits and expressions that no phone call, however long or however loving, can carry. She had been known in this house, in every room, in every ordinary moment, and she had left it. She lay in the sewing room and breathed in the smell of her mother's work and thought, what did I buy with the 4 years I sold? Stability, yes. The mortgage paid, Camilla's school good, Elena's medication covered without fear. And the price? She closed her eyes. She knew the price. Chapter 10. The conversation she needed to have. 3 days after her arrival, when Elena was stronger and sitting up and asking Isabel why the hospital food was so terrible, which Isabel and Sophia agreed was an excellent sign, Sophia asked Camilla if they could take a walk. Camilla agreed without enthusiasm, which was its own kind of agreement. They walked to the park near the house, the park where Sophia had taken Camilla as a small child, the park where Camilla had learned to ride a bicycle, where she had spent Saturday mornings with Elena feeding bread to the ducks. They walked in silence for a while. Camilla had her hands in her hoodie pocket. Sophia walked beside her, matching her pace, not rushing. I want to say something, and I want you to let me say the whole thing before you respond. Can you do that? Camilla glanced at her. Okay. I left because I believed it was the best way to take care of our family. And the money, it helped. It really helped. The house is ours. Your school has been good. Abuela's medication covered without fear. Sophia paused. But I have thought about it very honestly these past 3 days, and I need to tell you the truth, which is I stayed longer than I should have. The first year, maybe even the second, there was a real financial reason to be there. But by the 3rd year, we were stable. By the 4th year, I was staying because I was afraid. Camilla was watching her now. Afraid of what? She said. Afraid of coming back and finding that things had changed so much that I didn't know how to fit in anymore. Afraid that coming back meant admitting that I had missed too much. She looked at her daughter, afraid that you were angry with me, and that if I came back and you were angry, I would have to feel all of it, the guilt, the sadness, all the things I had been keeping at a distance by staying busy. She stopped. It was cowardly, and I am sorry. Camilla was quiet for a long time. They had stopped walking. They were standing by the duck pond, which had fewer ducks than Sophia remembered. I was angry, Camilla said finally. I'm still angry a little. When my friends talked about their moms, at birthday parties, at school things, and I said, my mom worked abroad, it sounded fine, like a normal thing, but inside it didn't feel fine. She looked at the water. There were nights I needed you, and you were 8,000 kilometers away, and a phone call is... She stopped. Not enough. Sophia said softly. Not enough, Camilla agreed. Then, after a moment, but I also know why you went. I'm not a child anymore. I understand money and mortgages and Abuela's medication and all of it. She turned to look at her mother. I understand it. I just also missed you. Both things are true, Sophia said. Both things are true, and both deserve space. Camilla looked at her, this girl with her grandmother's eyes and her father's steadiness and something that was entirely her own. Are you staying? Actually staying? Not another year and then 1 more year. I'm staying, Sophia said. You're sure? I handed in my notice from the airport. I didn't tell you because I wasn't sure it was real until I said it out loud. But yes, I'm sure. Camilla looked at her for another moment. Then she did something she had not done since she was small. She took her mother's hand, not dramatically, not with a speech. She simply reached out and took her hand and held her, and they stood together by the duck pond in the November cold while the city moved around them. "Okay," Camila said. "Good." Chapter 11. Elena Speaks. 2 weeks after Sophia arrived, Elena was moved from the hospital to Isabel's house for recovery. She was stronger. She could walk slowly with a frame, could eat at the table, could hold a full conversation as long as no one rushed her. On a Sunday afternoon, while Isabel's family filled the house with noise and food, Elena asked Sophia to sit with her in the small back bedroom where it was quieter. Sophia sat in the chair beside the bed. Elena was sitting up against pillows, her right hand, the good one, resting on the blanket. For a while, neither of them spoke. Elena had always been comfortable with silence. She had raised daughters who were comfortable with silence, too. "You think," Elena said, finally, in her slower post-stroke speech, choosing each word carefully, "you failed." Sophia looked at her. "I can see it in your face since you arrived. You walk around this house looking at everything as if you are counting what you missed." "Aren't I right to?" Sophia said quietly. "I missed so much, Mama." "Yes," Elena said, simply. She did not soften it. "You missed things, real things, important things." She paused. "I also missed your father after he left. I missed the man I thought he was. I missed the family I thought we would have." Another pause. "Missing something doesn't mean your life is ruined. It means you are human." Sophia was quiet. "You went," Elena said, "because you are a woman who cannot watch the people she loves struggle without doing something. That is not a flaw. That is you." She looked at her daughters steadily. The flaw was staying too long. That is the part to learn from, not the going. "How do you do that?" Sophia asked. "How do you separate them? They feel like the same thing." "They are not," Elena said firmly. "Going to provide was love. Staying when the providing was done," she paused, finding the words, "that was fear wearing love's clothes." She looked at Sophia directly. "You know the difference in here." She touched her own chest slowly with one finger. "You always knew. That is why you feel what you feel now." Sophia put her face in her hands. Elena reached out her right hand and placed it on Sophia's head, the way she had done since Sophia was a small child with small problems, and the specific weight of a mother's hand had been the most comforting thing in the world. "You are home now," Elena said. "That is not too late. Too late would be if you never came back." She moved her hand gently. "You came back. Now you stay. Now you learn who everyone is now, including yourself." Chapter 12. The First Normal Evening. 6 weeks after Sophia returned, on a Thursday evening that was no particular occasion, something happened that Sophia would remember for a long time. She cooked dinner. Not a special meal, just rice, beans, the chicken dish her mother had taught her years ago. She stood in the kitchen of the family home. She and Marco had agreed she would move back in while they figured out the rest, and she cooked, and Camila sat on the kitchen counter the way she apparently always did now, talking about school, about a friend named Lucia who had done something annoying, about a book she was reading for class. And Marco came in from outside and stopped in the doorway for a moment. "Something smells right," he said. "Not good, right." Sophia turned from the stove and looked at him. "Sit down, it's almost done," she said. He sat. Camila kept talking. The kitchen filled with the smell of food and the sound of her daughter's voice and the ordinary, irreplaceable sound of a family in a room together. Sophia stood at the stove and felt something she had not felt in 4 years. not happiness exactly. There was too much that was still unresolved, too much repair still needed, too much to understand about who she and Marco were to each other now, too much history to hold carefully between herself and her daughter. But something close to peace, the specific peace of being in the right place. She was in the right place. She was home. Chapter 13. What She Understood. 3 months after returning, Sophia sat at her mother's old sewing table by the window. Elena had moved to Isabel's permanently now and had given Sophia the table, with a notebook and a cup of tea, thinking about what she had learned. She had found a job, not as good as Dubai. The salary was real, half of what it had been. They were managing. It was tight in the way that honest lives are sometimes tight, and that tightness, she had discovered, was far easier to carry inside a family than an ever amount of financial comfort carried alone and 8,000 kilometers from home. She wrote in the notebook, "Things I know now that I did not know when I left. 1. Love is not only provision, it is also presence. The two are not interchangeable. 2. Fear dressed as practicality is still fear. I should have recognized it sooner. 3. Children do not need perfect parents. They need parents who show up, make mistakes, and keep showing up. 4. Marriages do not wait. Relationships are living things. You cannot pause them and expect to find them exactly as you left them. 5. Home is not a place that stays the same while you are away. It grows and changes and moves on. When you come back, you have to meet it where it is, not where you left it. 6. It is never fully too late, but the longer you wait, the more work you bring home with you." She looked out the window at the street. A woman was walking past with a small child on her hand, maybe 4 or 5 years old, pulling toward a puddle that the woman gently steered her away from. She watched them. "I had that," she thought. "I had exactly that, and I chose to go." She did not let herself say, even now, that it had been the wrong choice. The reasons were real. The need was real. She had to allow herself that. But she could also say, clearly, without self-pity, as a fact that cost her and everyone she loved something real, she stayed too long, and she would not make that mistake again. Chapter 14. Camilla's 16th Birthday. 2 weeks after Sophia returned, Camilla turned 16. It was not a big party. Camilla had not wanted one, or had said she didn't, which in the language of 16-year-olds sometimes means the same thing and sometimes does not. They had dinner at the house. Isabel and her family, Marco's sister, who embraced Sophia without comment, which was its own kind of grace. Elena, brought by Isabel, moving slowly but dressed in her best and wearing the earrings she kept for occasions. There was a cake, chocolate, Camilla's choice since she was small. At the table before the cake was cut, Elena looked around at the faces, her daughters, her granddaughter, the family assembled in this room, and she said, slowly and carefully, "Every person at this table has someone missing from their life, someone they wished were here, and every person at this table is also someone that someone else is grateful to have." She looked at Camilla. Being alive and together is the occasion, always. Camilla looked at the cake. Then she looked at her mother, a long, direct 16-year-old look that contained more than any speech. Then she smiled, small but real. Sophia smiled back. The candles were lit, the song was sung, the cake was cut. Outside, the city went on. In this room, a family, imperfect, repair in progress, honest, sat together around a table. And that, Sophia understood as clearly as she had ever understood anything, was everything. The end.